I was thinking of another good one, actually.
Do the other one then. It's fine.
About the new moon.
The new moon, fantastic.
How the new moon came to be.
Okay.
Huh?
We do that. Yep.
Okay.
I know that one.
Is that sweet dog? Oh, gee. Well, once again, a long, long time ago, there was two little nephews who wanted their uncle to take them out and teach them the law of the land and the bush and the animals and everything, plants. And old uncle said, he said, I'm going hunting, he said, for an emu. He said, would you two little fellas like to come with me? He said, we'll make you a spear before we go and everything, and your woman, we'll make all that for you. And the two little fellas, they were really anxious to get out and learn as much as they could, see, from their old uncle. And so they agreed with him. And after he made their spears and showed them how to fashion it and put everything on it and clean it up properly, he told them to go out and do some practice with it in the afternoon when he finished. He said, I'll go and have a lie down. He said, well, you two go out and practice throwing your spear. He said, and tomorrow morning early we'll get up and we'll go out and see whether there's any emus around. So right, the two little fellas went out practicing with their spears all afternoon. So when they come back, they had a feed, went to bed. Then early, just on picking any daylight, I mean when first light dawns, the old fella got up and got the two little fellas up. He said, well, we got to go now. We're going to walk. I might have to walk a long way, he said, but I know where there's a good a swamp, he said, where lots of emu gather. And he said, we'll get out there before the sun get up. And we may be able to catch an emu and bring him back to camp. So the two little fellas said, right-o, and old uncle said to them when they took off, he said, now you two walk behind me. He said, I'll walk along the pad this way. He said, you walk behind me so you won't, if there's an emu track or emu crossing our path, he said, I'll notice it straight away and see whether it's a fresh one or an old one. He said, and I'll stop and show you then how fresh it is. So the two little fellas obeyed old uncle. They went behind him all the way, kept following him, walking slowly behind him, till he got nearly out to the swamp. And all the water was just about dried up from there, but he just happened to go over this bit of a rise and come down to the swamp, and all of a sudden he see this emu track going across. And he put his spear up and he said to the two little boys, come around here quickly, come here. He said, see those tracks? He said, that's the track of the old emu. And he's gone across that way, he said, and he's over there behind that clump of trees ready to come back in to have a drink. He said, I'll wait here on the path. He said, I'll hide here with my spear. He said, you two little fellas run right out behind him. Sneak around carefully and go right behind the old emu. He said, when you get behind him, yuck-eye out, frighten him, clap your hands, hit your spears, do whatever you got. He said, make a big noise. And the old emu will come flat out back past me then, he said, and I'll spear him as he go past. So the two little fellas set off and they got right around back of the old emu and they started banging on their spears, making noises, and yelling out. And the old emu come flat out back towards Uncle. Old Uncle was ready for him. See, he had his spear raised. So as soon as he got level with old Uncle, Uncle just threw his spear and pinned him. So he got the old emu down and he killed him with his stick. And two little fellas running behind the emu, they caught up with him. So old Uncle said, right, he said, we got the emu now. He said, we need a long pole, he said, to carry him home. He said, I'll just go over in the thick bushes, he said, and see if I can get a straight pole. He said, I'll cut it off and bring it back and we'll put the emu on it. So old Uncle went over and he got the pole and brought it back, and he had some of the old natural string in his dilly bag, so he tied the emu's legs together like that, so round his feet. And he put the pole between the emu's legs like that, and he said, now I'll carry one part on my shoulder. He said, you two little fellows carry the back part between you, share that. So that's how they took the emu back to camp. It was a slow old process, but they had lots of stops. But they got home well before dark. And old Uncle told them, he said, now you two little fellows, you said about cleaning the emu. He said, and I'll get the fire going, get the old dug, and I'll have the fire going ready to cook him. He said, and when you do all that, I want you to race down to the creek, he said, and get some leaves. Bring all the gum leaves back, he said, and pile them up here. We need that to cook the emu. So two little fellows obeyed old uncle, and they raced off and got the leaves first before they pulled the feathers off him. They had a pile of leaves there alongside the hole, and then they started cleaning all the feathers off and cleaned his tummy, dressed him properly. They stuffed some feathers inside the emu from the gum leaves. They put that inside to flavour the meat. And then old uncle sorted out the cold in the hole, levelled them out with his stick. Got that all level, and he threw some bushes down, put the emu in him and the two little fellows. Put some more leaves on top of the emu and then covered him over completely with hot ashes and coals. Now, old uncle said, we walked a long way today, he said, and I'm tired. He said, I'll go back in the camp, he said, in the moment I never sleep. And when the emus cook, when the sun sits on the mountain, he said, you two little fellows wake me up. I'll show you how to get the emu out of the hole then so we can have a feed. So right, the two little fellows, you know, they're playing around the fire while Uncle went out to sleep, and then they went away a bit from camp, practicing their spears, you know, throwing it, see what they can hit. And then just as the sun was sitting on the mountain before that, two little fellows come over and they went to see Uncle, but Uncle was snoring. So I said, we'll get the emu out of the hole ourselves, you know, poor old Uncle's tired. We'll do him a good turn, see? So they got the emu out of the hole, and they got a feather off the emu, stuck on the emu, it was all oily. So they got that feather, took it over and they tied it around old Uncle's toe. So when old Uncle wake up and look down, he'll see the feather on his toe and he'll know that we've taken the emu out of the hole. So anyway, they struggled with the emu then and got it up on top of the mountain. So they put the emu on the pole and they tried to take him up the mountain to cook the emu. They got him up there and they're sitting up there having a feed. And in the meantime, old Uncle wakes up. And as soon as he woke up and looked, he saw the hole open. And he knew that the boys were up to something. And then he looked down and he saw the feather on his toe, and he was a bit suspicious then. He said, the boys are up to no good. He said, you know, they look like they've taken the emu out of the hole. So he jumped up and raced over to where the emu was. Sure enough, the emu was gone. They dug him out and took him up the mountain. But he tracked them by the juice dripping off the emu. So he tracked them over to the foot of the mountain and he looked up. Two little fellas sitting on top of the mountain, they're eating the meat, and they cut a nice big juicy slice off for old Uncle and holding it up to him. Karikate, kotelte, wait, chogara, thinka. Nice, sweet, juicy meat, Uncle. And old Uncle said, you come down here and bring that emu back here. You had no right to take it out of the hole without me being there. And they just kept tormenting him with the meat. Wait, chogara, thinkate, kotelte, you know, nice fat meat. And anyway, they said, climb up the mountain. Come up and share it. And old Uncle said, I'm too old to climb the mountain. He said, you bring the meat down here. You had no right to take it up on top of the mountain. So anyway, our Uncle started climbing up. And they slid the long pole. It was all greasy from the fat and oil off the emu. They slid it down the side of the mountain. Climb up on the pole, Uncle, see? But when old Uncle started to climb up on the pole, it kept slipping over. So old Uncle kept falling down, see? And he'd get up and he'd have another go. So he got halfway up the mountain, and then his last fall he fell and on a sharp, jagged edge of rock there and hit his kidneys, see? So two little fellows raced down the mountain. And Uncle's hurt. By the time they got there, he died, you know, he's pierced his kidney. So old Uncle was dead, so they had to race on back to camp and get the other old people to come out and get old Uncle's body off the mountain. So when old people came out, they roused on the two little fellows and told them they had to be punished too and put to death because they had done the wrong thing to old Uncle. Instead of following his instruction, they disobeyed him. And they said, now we're going to take, because you two were on the mountain, you caused old Uncle's death, we're going to take the body of old Uncle up on the mountain and sing his spirit up into the sky to be another light for us. When the big moon go down, we got no other light to guide us at night. So but we'll put old Uncle up there and he can guide us as the new moon, the last quarter, or the first quarter something. And anyway, they took old Uncle's body up there, and then, of course, the two little fellows had to be punished. So they sung the spirit of the two little boys then as well. Two little stars up underneath old uncle. The first night, the new moon, you look down, you'll see the two little stars not far away. And the two little stars is, of course, the spirit of the two little nephews belonged to old uncle. So that's the Dreamtime story of how the new moon came to be.
And Mercury and Venus.
Yeah.